Welcome everybody to another Mog Talk interview here where we're talking about lore, and we brought on the amazing Anonymoose here to talk about another topic. You guys all said you wanted to have another episode, otherwise I would have kicked him to this curb and never talked to him again. This is you guys getting Anonymoose back. Moose, for the people who didn't see the last episode and the people who might be slightly unfamiliar with you, can you tell everybody quickly who you are again?
Okay, so if I was going to try to describe who I am relative to 14, it's just I've been here forever. In 1.0, there wasn't a lot of stuff that seemed like it had potential, so we just started talking about the story. And the next thing you know, I'm known as the guy who talks about the story, and that's who I've been ever since. And it's gotten really out of hand in terms of that. Like, we've talked about the story in interviews, we've talked about the story with Koji, we've talked about the story forums, Discord. I edited the lore book one time. Like, it's just it all just kind of snowballed.
Yeah, and now I'm forcing you to come on shows every once in a while to talk about it as well, right?
Yeah.
And,
you don't have to force me, though. I'm honored.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Well, that being said, Moose, we were thinking about topics, and there's lots of topics to talk about with story and lore. Literally, this is like almost an evergreen topic. Lore and story in Final Fantasy XIV can get so deep. The theory crafting can get so deep. But I decided this week there is something a little bit fresh that has come out recently that is worth exploring, which is the Aloalo. I hate that name very much.
Why?
Because it's hard for me to not say aloha or aloha, right? That put an A at the end of it. For some reason, it's really hard for me to say. That's
fair. I love the name because that's what I say every time I log into Discord or start a stream is Aloalo.
Okay. The alo is perfect. Okay.
Which is weird. Wait, I didn't know that's what we were talking about. This tweet says we're talking about aloha.
Look, that was not, again, this is Jet's fault. Jet made that graphic.
The tweet says aloha. The picture says aloala. So I don't know which one we're talking about, but I'm not ready for aloalo at all.
Look, I have troubles with names, okay? This is my established identity, is I'm not good with story, lore, pronouncing things, names, anything.
This is just on brand. We're selling the brand right now.
Yeah.
This is just a bit.
It's like, yeah, we're selling the brand. Yeah, this is something people want.
No, that's good. You gotta commit to that bit now. Like, every time you make a typo or fuck up a name, it's just like, yeah, that's just me.
I mean, I do. Literally. Anyways, we're talking about this topic. Sorry for the funny start here, guys. We're talking about this topic.
Yeah, we'll take it seriously. Lore's serious business.
It is. It's sometimes it can be, but Koji, he has his fun. I went through the variant recently, right? I did some stuff with it in the past that I was just now recently able to get into it and started to explore what it is. And this one, it feels like there's a good amount to pull from it. Would you say that this had a lot of stuff in it, and maybe stuff with the current lore, stuff going forward with lore maybe going into 7.0?
I'm very interested to know if it's going to go forward. I know that it went backwards, and it went backwards into lore that's never been like terribly integrated or consistent. It's kind of like the Void before Shadowbringers started giving them like a reason to go through it. The South Sea Isles have just been kind of mentioned all over the place, but we've never really explored them very in depth. So this was very integrated. It brought all of the stuff together in a really interesting way.
And so I kind of think when they're like trying to figure out the story and lore and everything else, the content development, they're like, well, what have we just kind of been wanting to expand on a little bit? What do we just want to say? As you know, so we've had a couple questions about it. Let's just throw something together for that and start building on it and fully explain it. And that's possibly what they were doing with this, right?
Yeah, it feels like there's a couple forms of content where the first thing they think is, what have we mentioned and then never mentioned again?
So, as as a casual player, I'm going to be honest. If you're not paying attention to the story here, it looks like they threw together a lot of nonsense, to be honest with you. Because they throw in a fairy with a gun, right? Then they have a big wooden idol called Lala, which is not, doesn't look exactly like a Lalafell, to our knowledge. And it's an island with some pirates trying to take our treasure that we're going to get, that for some reason can summon wooden beast. And it seems a little all over the place from a casual, ignorant perspective.
I can actually pull most of that together, I think, if we have to.
We probably do.
Okay. I think I could pull most of that together if it's on the agenda.
Oh, and fishing.
And fishing. Well, fishing's always like peak lore.
It is. Well, I mean, anything they could throw a little side content description on can be peak lore too, right?
Pretty much any missing lore explanation is going to be in the fish log somewhere.
Okay, let's do this. I'm trying to figure out the best way to tackle this. What is the first thing, like when you went into this, what was the most exciting piece of it that jumped out at you?
The fact that it was about Arcanima, because that's been a very inconsistent thing over the years. So like what Arcanima is and what the boundaries of it are and what it can and can't do. And I felt like what they were doing here was kind of zooming out a little bit and letting you see a broader picture of Arcanima and how it connects to both like the arcane geometries of wielding magic and also how it ties into like the soulkin and the golems and the stuff like that. And I felt like they were able to make a lot more sense out of it this time around. And just as someone who became an Arcanist in 2.0 and never really picked up another main again, I think that's what jumped out to me immediately.
All right. Are you ready? Stupid question one. What's Arcanima?
Okay. So you could just like go for Arcane, right?
Okay.
You just the arcane arts in Final Fantasy XIV.
Okay.
And our main introduction to it was the thing they invented to make carbuncles exist.
Conjuring.
Because if you go back, conjuring the carbuncle, and later the fairy, and also kind of like you're kind of plugging it into the Eggy. It's like we have cobbled together a version of Summoner that was not the Summoner they had in mind. Like it's very much a bootleg Summoner that we've cobbled together in this game. Okay. But I mean, like in 1.0 there was Arcanist, which was a job we were going to get that had this weird metal staff on its back. Oriange had one for a bit. And we never got whatever that job was supposed to be. That never showed up. But so we knew there were Arcanists and that they were really big at Limbs of Laminsa. And they were like, screw that. We're not going to do that. That job's gone. And like that job is so gone. The weapon models that they invented for it in 1.0 are now guns that are wielded by the Vath.
What?
They just if you go out to the Vath and you look at the guns they're using, like those little stick guns, those are the 1.0 Arcanist weapons.
Actually,
like look at a shot of old school Oriange and compare. Okay. So like that's how dead old Arcanist is. And then new Arcanist was, we're gonna bring in the carbuncle. So they invented Arcanima as the type of magic that summons these things. And then later that got tied into golems, because like if you try to follow the bestiary at all, it doesn't look like carbuncles and golems should be in the same group at all. So that's why I was excited, because I felt like they finally made a little more sense out of the connection between ether, math, stones, summons, familiars. So Arcanima is like the magic you would use, in this case, arcane geometry, like drawing down math and using the math to summon things or to create familiars.
So I was pulling Puppet Master from this. I'm wrong, then, I'm guessing.
You know, that's a interesting question in and of itself, because, like, let's say Puppet Master was in 14 using the same weapon that it was in 11, the Mammoth, right? So mammoths have cores that do not behave unlike soulstones now, like the current lore. So for all we know, there could be arcane arts in the creation of some puppets. It could happen. Okay.
There could be some relation that these three pirates all were maybe possibly puppet masters, but it's tied into Arcanist somehow as well.
Well, they all had books, so I don't know. Like they would have to put down the book and pick up the marionette, but there's nothing saying they couldn't.
I do think it's kind of interesting that they had these like thieves that were going to come and steal stuff from you, and they were the way they were going to do it was with their books. They're going to come.
I'm thinking about it, and actually, there is one thing stopping them. They went to jail. So maybe like when they get out of jail, maybe this is a skill they're going to take up in jail. They could take up puppetry in prison. That's going to be, maybe that could be the backstory for Puppet Master. They get out of jail, they've reformed their lives.
Which jail did they go to?
Thavner, I think. I think they got arrested by I think they get arrested by the Radiant Host later. If you get all 12 of the what do you call it? The lore pages. You get all 12 of the lore pages, I think they get arrested.
Got it.
That's your reward.
Okay. So, and sorry again for asking the questions about Arcanima and everything. It's just I want to make sure I'm on the same page, right? I don't just want to nod my head in these talks. I want to try to get a good grasp of it. So when we're going forward and we're fighting this, let me tell you what I've put together in my head of this so far. And I've only gotten 6 pages, and I have some notes and everything. But they can summon this wood golem, and then you go and there's the pixie or the fairy that you fight, which was there as a familiar, from my understanding previously, and just never left. And the person who welded them would have to still be alive as part of what I saw there. Interestingly,
no on that one. No, for this is one of the rare occasions where the summoner is dead. The scholar that this fairy belonged to is dead. The theory that they came up with is that the fairy somehow found a way to sustain itself using the speaker, the gem.
Okay.
That's like giving everything that extra life energy. So that's the theory. Yeah, this one's a weird exception to the rule.
Okay. And then the other one is an actual wooden golem called the Lala, which I didn't read the exact description, but I guess the understanding was that it that might have been a Lala before, or it was a creation or an idol in representation.
The fact that I'm going to say this sentence, like, this is one of those moments that it just hits me how weird my life has gotten.
Sure.
But, so the entry for the Lala is actually really concise, because I think it would just be monotonous because it's a repetition of the Quaqua. So, I mean, if you understand the Quaqua, you understand the Lala.
I don't understand.
What am I doing with my life, Rusty?
I don't know.
How is this the sentence that I'm sitting around saying right now?
Well, you know...
What led me here?
But yes, Final Fantasy.
If you understand the Quaqua, the Lala makes perfect sense.
So explain the Quaqua to me so I can understand the Lala.
So the lore that they came up with for like the old school Arcanima when you're in the South Sea Isles was that this was originally before they worked with soul stones, before they worked with gemstones, before they worked with any of that. They actually worked directly with wood. Apparently some of the properties are kind of similar there. And they used to work the arcane geometries into wood to serve as the protectors and the companions and the guardians of that isle. Mm-hmm. So when you fight the first one, what has happened is the thieves have figured out a way to reanimate and control one of these guardians, which is no easy feat at all. So that's what the Lala is too. Is it's actually just a figure made of wood with arcane geometries engraved into the surface so that it can have more kind of adaptive defense mechanisms. Okay. And I think going by the clues that you get from that mob and the one of the fish, that the word Lala just means person in an older language. I think it just means person.
Okay. In the ancient Lalafell language.
Yeah, in the ancient, that's my theory. That's my theory right now, going by the contextual hints we got, is that Lalafell means people of the something.
Okay.
So that would, I think that means that the thing we fought would be a person. Like it's just like a figure, a doll,
an idol of a person, or a figure, a statue, a wooden.
That's my theory. Don't. Okay. I'm not saying it's canon.
It's canon, guys. Mog Talk's all about making canon here.
What the heck was that fish? There's a fish that's in here. I think it's the Lalausu.
Yeah.
And they say it means person with a face. Or fish with a
person face?
Fish with a person face. I don't remember. A fish person. I don't remember what it was that it says that it's called, but it made me think like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Then we've got three threads here where Lala is like kind of the human element.
Okay. Now explain the whale.
The
flying whale. The
flying whale. Yeah. This one's actually cool. Remember when I was saying that we were tying together a whole bunch of stuff that was kind of like battered all over the place?
Yeah.
So this is Ketaduka, I think is. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
I wasn't going to try. That's why I said.
Yeah. So all the way back in 1.0, we had the Bismarck, the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And that was named after a flying whale. And then in 3.0, we had Bismarck the Primal, which was somehow connected to the same legend of Bismarck, the flying whale, which was then connected to the Void Ark somehow. Like there was another legend of a black whale, and then that came up for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then we went to the ancients and all that stuff, and we got connected to the flying whale called Shockmaw. And then that all went back to Elpis somehow, and they're like, oh, well, maybe this Elpis flying whale is where all these legends of flying whales come from. So what they've done is they've brought all of these together by introducing, possibly, not guaranteed, but possibly, one of the sources for all of these legends, which would be the Ketaduka from this place, which was a divine, they considered it a divine messenger that would come when the winds howled and the waters raged and the faithful would climb atop its back and be taken to paradise. But the beliefs that they had about these flying whales may have inspired all the other flying whales.
Okay. So this one whale is Elpis is much older than this whale, isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe all the flying whales are just out there somewhere we haven't seen before. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Hey.
We've got our connecting thread. We have no idea where it's going. We've got a while before we unravel that sweater.
Well,
maybe 7.0. Maybe we're going to get somewhere in 7.0 and there's just going to be like a whole bunch of flying whales in one place and we're going to go, that's where they've been.
It's a new beast tribe, okay. Flying whales.
Yep. Maybe it'll be in the same place we get Blitzball.
Oh, yeah. Maybe Blitzball will be, instead of, swimming, we're on flying whales. You know,
I'd play that.
Well, and we have to go underwater sometimes, but you ride a whale the entire time, and it's yeah.
If you recruit all the NPCs, you get one as a mount.
Oh yeah. We have a lot of flying whales in the game as mounts right now, to be honest with you. At least 2 that I can think of off the top of my head.
Now that you mention it, for all the weird legends of flying whales that everyone's trying to figure out, we have far too many flying whale mounts. We can just be like, hey, wow, see one? Hold on.
Yeah. we do. We have one that's a Mog Station one, and then we have another one that you got for Endwalker pre-order or collector's edition or special edition. Can't remember. Then there's another one, wasn't there? Maybe I'm imagining that.
I'm replying to chat here. I have no idea how it ties into Bismarck on the first. They're like both tied into very old legends, and they were just kind of like, yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll come back to it.
That works. Okay. So, that being said, this is the first time we've gone to the Southern Isles or in that direction, right? Well, was the...
It depends on your definition. Maybe
in game as characters or perspective, being able to explore, see it. I mean, we went to an island to figure out more about the Void, right? Or the 13th. Does that count? Was that in the Southern Isles, or was that?
I think that's Undersea Isles.
Okay.
So what I'm getting from this is, like, we've been trying to place the South Sea Isles for a while, and I think what we're getting out of it is that there's actually a very large space of ocean where there's a lot of islands. And if I read it correctly, I think the Sealdales might be included in the South Sea Isles, depending on how you define it. I think our hideaway might count as one, if you define it that way. But this is the first time we've been to this one, which is the one that they're trying to make kind of the hub of some of the past lore.
Okay.
But the thing that ties it all together, I think, is that if you look at the references to the South Sea Isles, you see a lot of words from different Polynesian languages, and I think that's kind of the hint that they're connected.
Okay.
And that it might be a bigger area than we think.
All right. I mean, this is... I'm assuming the last bit of this was to kind of give us a little bit of excitement going to 7.0 too, because it's kind of going in that direction. Right?
It's like a tropical appetizer.
Yeah, tropical appetizer. That's the right words. That's the ones I was looking for. So, all right. I went through this, and I noticed a couple of things that I wanted to, I guess, have cleared up a little bit, because I remember Nim existing as a name of something, and for some reason I'm relating tonberries to him. Am I doing that correctly?
You are doing that absolutely correctly.
Okay. And they were scholars.
Yep, Nimian scholars.
Yeah.
And marauders.
And marauders, that's right.
Yeah, they like to fight together.
And the thought was that this is where some of them went from Nim, right? They ended up on this island, and that's where everything started from, or am I wrong on that?
Came from and went to.
What?
Both. Yeah. Yeah, the history gets really weird. The first time it's explained, I didn't get it at all. I had to actually get the record or the entry or whatever we're going to call it before it made total sense to me. So somewhere back at the end of the 4th Astral Era, somewhere at the beginning of the 5th Umbral Era, when the seas are freezing over, you're getting to that ice calamity. That's when the first people settled this island. They are dubbed the Forgotten People by everyone who came after. So in the 5th Astral Era, that's when it's settled by another culture who's really good at seafaring. And some of them are going to migrate to Vilbrand, which is where we have Limsa today, that island off the coast of what we call Aldenard. Are you familiar with either of those names?
Limsa, yeah. I know Limsa.
Cool. So you got Eorzea, which is the big continent called Aldenard, and then the island off to the left, which is called Vilbrand, and Vilbrand is where Limsa is. So
okay.
Some of the second settlers of Aloalo go to Vilbrand and they found Nim. And then when Nim collapses and the next calamity comes, some of the Nimians actually go back to that place, and they like say it's the land that they came from, so they're going to go back. Okay. And then after that, they come back again, like 1,000 years later, to meet Limsa Liminsa and help them found Anima, or Arcanima. They're like going back and forth.
Okay, but now it's completely abandoned.
Now it's completely abandoned as of 100 years ago.
Okay. All right.
A volcano blew up underwater. It was not a good time for anybody there. They got out.
Okay. All right. Thank you. A lot of this stuff is starting to clear up a bit for me.
I'm glad.
I wasn't able to complete it 100%. And, this is a side tangent on content released. Like, there's a lot of stuff in there that I would want to be able to see and go through and everything. But going through content and making a guess if you did the right thing, and then like, oh, I made the wrong guess, and having just do it again and do the exact same fight, do the exact same stuff, that you're done with. Most of the excitement in Final Fantasy XIV comes from the progression and the discovery and learning, not the repeat part of it, in my opinion.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really bad at monotony. Like, I like to solve puzzles, but once the puzzle's solved, my tolerance for repetition goes right out the window. And from that perspective, I think most of these boss fights are at least 25% too long. So I don't even go into the content until I have a spreadsheet that says, okay, here's route 1, here's route 2, here's route 3.
Because that's the way you enjoy the information, going and doing the experience and everything else. But I
can't take the repetition of all those boss fights for no reason. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's rough. I think that's one thing that I would recommend that they. I mean, I guess it's a time sink in some way as well, but
there's got to be a reason, because it's that long no matter how many people you bring in. I've done it. I've brought in 2, 3, and 4 people, and it was roughly approximately the same time as doing it solo. So it feels like that's just how long they want those fights to be.
I mean, you could probably bring in like 4 DPS or something and maybe go really fast.
There's got to be a way to game it and go a little faster.
Yeah. But it's rough, and it's hard to go through. The excitement of getting the information is good, but the whole process is pretty tedious if you're just trying to collect this information.
Yeah. Especially because if even after you get all of the lore entries, you still don't have enough currency to buy all the rewards. So you've still got repetition to go.
No, I'm not getting rewards. I'm not. Well, I guess the other thing that I noticed, one, is a lot with the runes. When you go through the middle route. All right, I'm just going to spat off things that I noticed here. And you can tell me and fill in some of these gaps, because I had a couple of questions about it. Did you understand all of the runes that you saw when going through that middle route? They're all the trees, they're everywhere. There's like 3 or 4 of them, I think.
I don't know if I can't remember them off the top of my head. If I was looking at them, I don't know if I would be like, oh yes, I know exactly what that is. That means... No, I ran through it pretty quickly, to be honest with you, so I didn't take a good look at the runes. But there is there's a line in the quest about how they were carving the arcane geometries into the trees on purpose.
Okay.
So I would assume that's what those are. If I was designing the level, I would have pulled the runes from maybe one of the books or something, but just to like show a cool little progression there. But I did not look at them closely. I have to admit, I'd have to go back and look at them again.
No, that's fair.
I failed you, Frosty.
No, you know what?
Failed you.
Guess what? Boop. I took a screenshot of most of them. So if you want to take a quick look at them.
Hold up.
And that captured most of them, I think.
The one in the bottom left actually looks kind of similar to the the look away.
Oh yeah.
The other ones, they look like prototypes of the sigils that go. Do you play any summoning class, or do you play any Arcanist classes? Arcanist,
I don't
Summoner,
remember. I mean, but I don't remember a lot about it. Here, I'm putting this on the screen too, because I know there was a lot of. questions about having this stuff on the screen previously. So here's kind of what we're referencing here. But go ahead.
These, if I had to guess off the top of my head, total ass pull. Please don't call it canon. I don't do that. They look like prototypes of the sigils that flash when you complete a cast. So if you're on Summoner or Scholar and you complete a cast, every now and then you'll see the sigil pop.
Okay.
They kind of spin around.
That
they
makes
look
sense.
They look like prototype versions of that image that you have on paper and in your mind to make the spell work. But yeah, they're definitely arcane geometries, whatever they are.
If you look at the very bottom one, that's, there's the 3 of them and the one on the bottom. That is the one that you have to kill the bugs on. Is the exact same rune to grow the tree. I don't know if there's much to pull from that, but I did recognize that was the exact same one, that you had to feed it these insects to grow the tree, and if a tree is on it, when you feed the insects in a tree, like the tree mob, it grows big. Yeah. But if it's not on it, then the branch grows, right?
That ties into one of the explanations that they give later, is that the people who were studying the tree later and carving their arcane geometries into them experimentally, they found a way to sacrifice the life energy of animals to change the way the tree grew. And that's the explanation for how you kill a couple animals on a sigil and all of a sudden it grows and branches in different ways, because it used the energy from those sacrifices, channeled that energy into the arcane geometry and used it for a magic that made the tree grow and in a specific way.
That's pretty cool, man. But yeah, the other thing, the one at the very top, maybe that's the Harry Potter thing.
It looks I was trying not to say Deathly Hollows, but
it looks a little similar. Maybe there's something to do with that. Could be with a moon cycle. Maybe you see one of them stands out a little bit different than the rest of them. I don't know. There's stuff you could try to.
If you wanted to speculate, and you could absolutely say that's like the lunar cycle. You could claim that little one on the left is Dalamud occulting over it.
That would make sense, yeah.
It would make sense, but that doesn't mean it's true.
And then whatever's in the middle, shining light on those other ones, right? Except for when it's on Dalamud.
Except for when it's
I thought it was neat to look at it. It was the first thing that I saw, and I was like, hey, if you want to go really hard theory crafting, I'm sure somebody could go into it and pull some stuff from it.
I'm pretty sure when it was like, hey, we're going to be doing the South Sea Isles and we're going to tie it to Arcanima and arcane geometry, some artist was like, oh, hell yeah. And just went back and did some cool, old school alchemist looking stuff, because who doesn't love that?
Great. Full Metal Alchemist was a fun anime, big fan. But yeah, I saw that, and I thought that was kind of cool to see that was part of the path and everything going forward with it. The other part that I noticed when I was going through all this stuff, there's little things. Like when I'm doing this, I'm like, why does he pick up a shoe in the water? What's the shoe for? Is that from a dead body that is in there that died? That is really important. I start trying to pick apart, and that's a part of a problem when I'm doing a lot of this content, is that I'm obsessed with finding the little bits that matter, because that shoe might not be important, but things that are on the exact same level in, I guess, obviousness, I don't know if there's what the right word is for that, would be important. And so...
If it is, I missed it because I just saw him fish up a rusty bucket and was like,
maybe the rusty bucket
reference.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just an old Final Fantasy reference. Any fishing mini game has trash, and it's usually a shoe or a bucket. So I just assumed it was a reference to fishing mini game trash.
Okay.
But if it meant anything more than that, I missed it because I was too busy assuming it was just an homage to trash.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Here's one more thing I'm going to show you. This is the only other screenshot that I took that I thought was...
Okay.
I wanted to like just make sure I felt good about it and I knew... I'm assuming these boats are Nim boats.
Yeah. They could be from anywhere.
Okay.
Hold on. Why would you say Nim specifically on these boats?
Because that's the only name I recognize about people coming into the islands, and so I just put a correlation.
Okay, I don't know if I looked at the boats close enough to identify them. I wonder if there is a texture on them that could help identify them. But the whole area is pretty famous for wrecking boats.
Right.
So believe it or not, Aloalo is a real word.
Is it?
Yes, it is a real word in a Polynesian language. I think I might have written down which one it is. Hold on.
Okay.
West setting. Aha! Tokalauan. So Aloalo means the shallows.
Oh, okay. So it's just really shallow around the islands.
The boats are wrecking on the shallows.
Okay. Makes sense. Apparently after the first ship broke, the other one was like, you know what? Let's get in there anyways.
Hey, if you've ever been to any of the reefs in 14, like go down to like Siren Song Sea and just look how many people sail up to that and they see all those boat wrecks and go, not gonna happen to me.
Well, I assume at that point they're sucked in by the siren. Maybe there was a storm happening here that explains why these boats were all wrecked and everything as well. I mean, this is where you fight the whale on a boat that was wrecked. Maybe the whale is doing it.
I choose to believe it's just like part of the human condition. You see a whole bunch of shipwrecks and you go, inferior captain. Keep going.
They didn't know what they were doing, but we got it. They don't have it. We got it. Jeez. Okay. Those were 2 screenshots I took while I was going through it. That I thought were at least worth digging around in.
Yeah, 2 of the coolest pieces of scenery for sure.
Yeah. And the other part here was the whole... I'm trying to think if the fish are actually... Alright, fish are very lore relevant a lot of the times. Did you find the fish to be very lore relevant this time as well?
I didn't, if they connect to anything outside of this, I didn't notice. It felt like they were giving a nod to kind of the fishing community, how there's always fishing lore, and that Matsuya is going to be like this pro fisher, so anything he pulls up should have cool lore. Like, I think it was just like, you can't not have Matsuya fishing and being a great fisher, so you got to explain.
Got it. All right. Because, I mean, that was a huge deal with all this, and it was all just, hey, we'll take it and take these properties that are unique and rare and use them for potions, alchemy, all that great stuff, right?
Yeah, and it ties into the... I mean, each one of the fish that he pulls up kind of ties into the game in a different way. So, he's trying to impress Nadana. One of the fish can help the baby that he adopted. One of the fish can be like studied alchemically by his friend who got him involved in all this. It's kind of just like there's something for everyone.
Okay, just like good feel good stuff, like situation.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
If I missed another layer of it, I apologize. Mostly, like, most of the lore that I know, I know because I've gone over it 500 times, and now it's just, like, it's in my brain. This is something I did this week. Fair.
That is, I was like, hey, Moose,
this is the
good
first
luck,
pass.
try it, see how it goes. The only other boss we didn't talk about is the secret boss, I guess, which we could bring up, which was Aloalo.
Yep.
And
well, a statue of one.
Well, I guess it was a statue of one, but it had clothes and it turned into sort of a real one, sort of. I don't know. It was more than just a statue. Like, Lala was like a statue. I feel like this one was more. Tell me your thoughts.
I feel like My thoughts. Okay, so I didn't dive all the way deep into this one yet. I want to do a little more research on it, but it looked to me, again, I'm not saying this is true because I can't confirm it. I can't give you the citation yet.
Okay.
It looked to me like the gem in the tree is acting a lot like a soul stone to some of the things around the island.
Okay.
And it looked to me like the tree is kind of programmed to defend itself by using that gemstone to create a wooden familiar of a Lalafell.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. In the Lalafell summons the birds, which brought us to the island in the first place, too, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the talking bird entirely. Like it seems like it seems like someone just really knew the overlap between summoned familiars, like the arcane entities, golems, and familiars, and they knew that like we kind of had like Pet She is one of these things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Huh. I can't think. I'm trying to think of the other stuff that I tried to pull from this too. The other thing was the owl. That was the statue. I like the totems get really pissed off at you if you don't set them right. Apparently they hate you if you walk past them. That was kind of weird. But I guess like the totems are kind of alive too, in a way. Is everything on this island alive?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And I'm gonna answer a question in chat. No, you're not the only one hearing that static.
Oh no!
I've made a terrible mistake.
Oh, do you have the wrong thing on?
Do I have time to correct it? Can I like?
Yeah.
Can I bounce?
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Okay, that's fine. Guys, it's just me and you now. The chat and I alone to talk about lore. Are you afraid?
Okay.
You got it? You fixed?
Kinda. Now it's making a different noise.
I don't hear anything, to be honest with you. It just sounds like you're on.
I made a terrible decision about where to set up the ice machine.
Oh. Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to talk about lore, and all of a sudden I hear the ice machine just.
I don't hear it. So...
Yeah, it's gonna have a new home ASAP.
Okay. We're not talking about the seed of sacrifice, by the way. That's not the topic for today. Today is Aloalo. And we're talking about this island that we all decided to go to because a bird told us to go to it. Because they needed a fierce warrior to come. Wait a minute. You know what? I think I forgot about that a little bit.
What?
They needed a strong warrior to come save the island. The bird was in trouble at first, right?
Yes.
Because the island was getting out of control, and they needed a strong warrior to come and cull that situation, right?
Yeah, so the explanation they give for why this place needs help and that you should go there, especially repeatedly, at least 30 times to get enough tokens to buy the outfit, is that when the volcano erupted and the culture that lived there left, it threw off the whole ecosystem. And this ecosystem is thriving because of the jewel. So now it's thriving out of balance, and all of these animals are growing and breeding and eating unchecked. And that's why they need a hunter to come in and kind of restore that part of the ecosystem that's culling those things back.
In the end, did we take the jewel or did we leave it? I'm guessing we left it, right?
We left the jewel. The jewel. Remember when I was telling you that the 3 thieves get arrested if you do everything? Yeah. As soon as you left the island, they tried to steal the jewel and it beat their ass.
Okay. Yep. So, what did we solve?
We solved that Matsu's bird friend is happy. That was really the big thing, is that Matsu had a bird friend who said he had to go fight stuff, and he was like, yeah, I don't do that. So we completed the mission. We fought stuff. Yeah, everybody's happy. So we got some adventure. The Great Work got some alchemy ingredients. Matsuya looks good with Nidana. The bird got hunters to the island, and the thieves got arrested. Okay, so the thieves aren't happy. The thieves are the only ones who didn't make out happy.
Okay.
But yeah, now we go back to the island whenever we want, and we cull some of the wildlife and take some of the benefits. It's just like our own private store, except you have to buy it with murder.
Got it. Just to make sure that's the repeatability part is we go to it to cull it and trim down the trees and stop it from overgrowing, things like that.
Yes, we are exchanging rare benefits fed by the life jewel for murder.
That sounds like a video game to me.
Yeah, it sounds like it's right up the Warrior Lights alley.
Yeah. Okay. So we went over a good handful of things, all the stuff that came to my mind, originally. What have I missed so far, Moose? What are in your notes, the things that we have not hit?
Yeah, I think you hit almost everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel pretty good about that.
So I'm gonna take a quick scroll through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's one note here that, like, when you have a gemstone acting as an arcane entity, that it's the gemstone is the intermediary between the corporeal and the incorporeal. So like the body and the ether that you've used to kind of give it a quasi soul. But I mean, we hit every other note here. The only thing that we didn't touch, I think, was the last time that people left Aloalo to come to Limsa Lominsa and help found Arcanima there. There's actually pre-existing lore for that. That goes in the timeline of the first lore book. It's a figure named Ikuku Iku, who was an advisor to the Admiral. They were an Arcanist from the South Sea Isles, and they never really explained any of that or how that connected to anything. So what they did here was they added new lore that said that when Ikuku Iku came to Limsa Lominsa, rumor had it that the island she left was home to a statue of tremendous power, and that her people's efforts to try to figure out what this statue was is what led to the birth of Arcanima. So they actually managed to tie this new lore into lots of old lore and even flesh it out in a way that the old lore makes more sense. I thought this was actually a very well integrated piece.
Oh, okay. Huh. Now that you say that, yeah. No, I don't remember that part of it, but the fact that they put that as part of the quest line, again, this goes back to Koji, I guess, like the whole team and everything. They're like, well, we want to make this content. We're using it as kind of a piece for people to go in for these 4-man dungeons. What would be cool to do that with, right? What haven't we explored? And then they bring this stuff out. Now, I haven't gone deep into the other variants as much. I know the very first one, we kind of go through this ancient history of Ul'dah and everything. The second one, I barely touched at all. But did they do pretty much the exact same thing, where they kind of went in there and just filled in like bits of lore that maybe they were meaning to talk about but never had a chance to explain it?
I would argue yes. Ul'dah lore has always been a little scattered, and there's still some pretty weird things they haven't cleaned up in Ul'dah lore, but I think explaining how Nanamo became a child empress, essentially, that was kind of a puppet of the merchant princes. I'm not going to use I'm going to use their kind of like trope names rather than their real names in the game. But so I think it helps you understand how the Syndicate ended up taking power from the Sultana and putting her in the position that she was in, because these clues were in the game. Like we had Nanamo's parents' names. God, I think it was even in 1.0. So being able to flesh that out and integrate that, I thought was really cool, especially once you get the Syl De lore, because that, I mean, most of the Sildil lore we had came from Hildebrand of all things. Yeah. So I think that variant did a really good job with that. And then we knew that Hingashi was based on Edo period Japan, but we only saw that, Edo period Japan was closed off. So we only see that one port that's not closed off. It's a closed country. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you could go to Mount Fuji and see what's behind the closed off country is something that I think that was a really cool idea to explore too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But both of those felt like they were kind of isolated, as in like this just a nice little piece to put here. This one feels like it's supposed to be like a small springboard. Or did you see? Because it's an island and it's tropical paradise. Did you see anything that you could see them trying to carry on and push into 7.0, or is it kind of an isolated thing?
I have no idea. None. I'm gonna tie this into a question from the chat just so it looks like this all makes sense. Uh-huh. So the question was, do we have any idea who the fourth Astral Era people were, or is this the first time they're teased? To my knowledge, it's the first time they're teased. And I think the reason they went back that far is because when they were looking at the lore that was connected to the South Sea Isles, they recognized they had to connect it not only to Arcanima, but I mean, you had the Nimians who were actually destroyed by a trip to the South Sea Isles. Mahach had allied or conspired with one of the South Sea Island nations to give them that amphora that turned them all into tonberries. So I don't imagine it was their home island that poisoned them. So I think they knew they had lore going all the way back to at least the War of the Magi. So if you're gonna have a culture that predates the Nimians, then it has to be fourth Astral Era. And I think that by putting it there, they made it so that if they wanted to go further back later, they could, but it was at least as far back as they had to go right now. And then I can bring that back around to Frosty's question and go, if they were going to tie this into anything that was going to be released in 7.0, that's probably where I would imagine it. How did these, let's imagine that the culture that built that first gem, the speaker, the statue, let's imagine they came from what we call the New World. That's maybe where I could see it tying in as a springboard to something else, that in the, second Astral Era, they came from that direction.
Okay.
But that's all I got. So yeah, I mean, most of it's tied into 2.0 plus. We're actually looking more backwards than forwards, I think.
So now that we're on this topic here, and guys, if you have any questions about the Aloalo stuff, the things that we haven't covered, please ask them in chat. Now, maybe we can pull a question just that is random side lore questions. Maybe we'll see. But you would answer that question that came back up real quick.
Which one? The fourth Astral Era?
Since we're already on the topic, yeah.
Yes. So after the fall of the Alagon Empire, science did not have the best reputation, so it's a little bit of a dark age. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing that when we start talking about these errors and everything, like, how much information do we have, like, on the second, like the third, and like
the very early eras?
Yeah, the very early ones.
There is a very rough outline of them in the second lore book, but we don't often go that far back on the source because one of the core pieces of lore that this game was supposed to have is that, yes, history's long, but we don't have access to it. The beginning of the 6th Astral Era in 1.0 was supposed to feel like the beginning of time, for all you know. Like the Elysian and the Hure having the fight over the 12's Wood, that was supposed to feel like it's been going since the beginning of time because the Elysian believed that the 12 gave them that land at the beginning of time. But now we know that it's really the Elysian were just kind of the first people back after the floods receded. And I think what really happened is that when they invented Dalamud and made Alog, sci-fi instead of crystal spires and togas. That's when they really filled in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And once you have gone back that far, it's kind of tempting to do the 1st and 2nd, but I don't think they've done too much of it yet.
Okay.
We got a rough outline.
Yeah. And maybe we'll talk about that stuff more on another episode too. There's a lot of stuff to explore. Moblins, I don't think that has much to do with Aloha right now. That's all like 7-0. You want to talk about Moblins?
That's okay. We can. I mean, I'm gonna answer the question just because the person asking it has a goblin name. So I think
that's my summoner
goblins
for my
just,
raid, by the way.
I think. Is it?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if they like goblins enough to make it their name, how can I like ignore that? Like,
fair. Okay. What do we know about the Moblins, Moose?
Well, that's why I was going to answer it, because it's a really easy question. Nothing.
There you go.
We know what they told us at FanFest, and maybe you could get a couple clues by looking at 11.
Yeah. The current running theme on the Frosty side of things, again, from our last talk that we had, is that they are a copy paste of goblins that we've had. And they are building a robot called the Annihilator, or I think that's what it's called. That is similar to Alex.
Wait, no. Alejandro was built by the Moblins?
Yeah, 100%. That is what it is.
That's news to me. I'm learning lore now.
Yeah, Frosty lore. It goes nowhere. Okay, this is a good question here. Were there any kind of lore elements, I guess we could relate this to this, that you wish was explored a little bit further? Do you feel like they did pretty good here?
I feel like they did a great job with this one. Mm-hmm. If I was thinking about other opportunities for variant dungeons, I would all of my suggestions would probably make Yoshida groan, because they go back too far and into things that we don't want to retread. I've still got some questions about the original city states. I really want to know what the amber figures in the shroud were. I don't think we've explored the elementals quite enough, especially in terms of the ways we just retconned them. So I think there would be a way to explore the shroud. Yeah, and I feel I'm reading chat, and yeah, definitely Al Amigo did not get its due. I would love to see the city actually opened one day, but yeah, I think there's some stuff in Gelmora that we didn't fully explore, and if we were gonna do Silde, I don't see why we're not doing Gelmora. Okay.
I don't know what Gelmora is.
Gelmora is the underground city that existed before Gridania. Okay. So it's like they use the ruins for like the Munturi cellars where they store all the soy sauce.
Oh, okay. Got it. Kimmy here asked, with the announcement of the Final Fantasy XI Alliance raise, do you think Vanadale will be revealed as a shard?
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. But I feel like if they were going to reveal other games as shards, it would have happened in Ivalice. And I think the fact that Matsuno-san didn't take that opportunity means they probably won't do it here.
True. But we'll see. Again. We're not actually going to get more information that we could pull out, like new information. There's lots of old stuff that we can go into, or stuff that came out recently, but for answers to some of these questions, we won't know a lot of this stuff until JP FanFest, which is going to be an explosion, I'm hoping, of information for us. With the final trailer and everything they're going to be doing as well. But, okay, let me see, what else? I think that might be... Did we miss any questions? We doing some in Echo gameplay? What?
That would be interesting, actually.
Like going and doing gameplay as you're getting knocked into like this vision the Echo gives you?
Yeah, we just did that in the new dungeon.
It's true. That's true.
I would love to see old school 1.0 style echoes. Though if it was entirely in echoes, the stakes might not be like narratively high enough for them. I know they like a little higher stakes than that, but I would love to see like more echo stuff integrated into stuff. I miss interactive echoes.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, those are fun. Those are fun every once in a while, and I don't think for me or anyone else that we really like. The recent dungeon was just fun to see all that old stuff in there, and throwbacks to the goblins and everything from previous Final Fantasy, things like that. Oh, this is actually kind of an interesting question. And if you're looking at variant dungeons, now that we've had these three, do you have a variant dungeon that you want to see? Now that we know they're kind of like little side bits of excuses to explain lore a little bit more?
Same answer, and Square Enix is still going to hate me for it. I still want to see the old Shroud stuff resolved. Okay, I want to see, I want to see. I don't know if you're even going to know what this place is. You ever heard of Amber Scale Rock?
No.
There's a cave in Gridania, in the Shroud, where there's just like a figure trapped in amber, and I have this whole theory about it being a dragon, but like the stone, whatever was trapped in amber is like it was mind controlling this guy. And the elementals claimed this guy as a wildling, and we're just like, yeah, wherever you came from, you don't ever get to go back there. You're from Ishgard, you're never going back to Ishgard again. You're actually a Gridanian now. Go to Gridania, tell him you can hear the elementals, you're going to be set up as a conjurer. And every time he tried to leave the wood, the elementals would just like block him. And I would love to see that story resolved and tied in, like, because the only other amber figures were they looked like tonberries, and I have been told they're not tonberries. Don't call them tonberries, but they looked like tonberries. In 1.0, out in the Shroud, there were these amber encased tonberry looking things, and I'm never gonna let it go. I'm not. I need to know what they were. So that would be my variant dungeon. Have a branch dedicated to kind of exploring the elementals a little further, because we just completely abandoned them in 2.0. Have a branch explaining the weird amber figures, and have a branch then going to Amber Scale Rock explanation.
Okay.
But if we did Silda and Anonymo, come on, we can do Morris. His name was Morris, by the way.
Morris?
Hashtag Memento Morris.
Oh, you know what? The one thing I didn't really, that was in my mind this entire time, and it's stupid. But Tataru. Yeah, went on this whole like finding herself quest line where she became like tried to become an alchemist or a summoner, and now we find out there's so much Lalafell stuff that's associated with this island. Do you feel like she's going to become more relevant and important moving forward because of some of this?
Tataru?
Maybe we'll find out she has this. Well, actually, how much do we know about her past?
We know about her family life and how she got into financial trouble, and how, like, because of her family connection. And then how that led to her joining the Path of the 12, which was Minfilia's original organization. But I would actually say there's probably a way to tie this together that's even better than you think. Tataru tried to become a Arcanima wielder. And she couldn't get her carbuncle to obey, so they thought she was really bad at being an Arcanist. So she stopped being an Arcanist, but actually her carbuncle never desummoned, just like the fairy in Aloalo.
Okay. Her
carbuncle is still running around. You can find it.
Is it like Alpha and Omega running around?
It's like, I have no idea, but we definitely saw it in Labyrinthos. I think it was. We saw it in Endwalker. Now, if they were gonna do it, that would be how they did it. But I think they might have her continue to be a seamstress for a while.
Okay. There's a way to tie it in, though. She could.
There's always a way to tie it in.
New Ultimate.
Like I can make sense of anything. Just don't say I said it was canon. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
That used to be one of the things that happened all the time, was like someone would say something on a podcast and then everyone would come into the forums like, well, this person says what's the real truth is.
Well,
I don't want to be that guy creating headaches for the other new lore people.
What a lot of this is the best educated guesses. Right? That is it. Yep.
And shit posts. One of the two.
Yeah. All right.
Worst educated lore guesses.
Educated lore guesses.
Best and worst educated lore guesses.
Yeah. Maybe that's the name of the segment. Best and worst educated lore guesses.
I would accept that.
The lore memery segment.
Yep.
Gosh.
You may learn something, you may not.
Yeah.
Roll the dice.
I actually didn't really remember that at all about seeing the carbuncle in the labyrinth. And I mean, the fact, the assumption is that she is just too powerful, and that's why things don't work for her, I guess.
Maybe it's like Pokemon, and if the thing you're supposed to be telling to fight for you is too powerful, it doesn't listen to you. Like maybe Tataru just needs some more gym badges.
You know what? That would be a good way to take the Arcanists. They just become Pokemon masters. Right?
She needs more soul stones.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I think that hits most of everything. What else from these bosses that we can kind of pull out here? I don't remember anything too crazy from it. I mean, we do know, we can, story-wise, the thieves weren't like horribly evil people, right?
No, they were just kind of out for a payday, and I thought they were foreshadowing them as being more relevant. Like it's really interesting to me that they foreshadowed them as being more than your average thief. Mm-hmm. And then they just ended up being a thief who can read. Because that was the lore, was that they actually had dived into a bunch of old books to figure out how to do this and pull this off.
Okay.
Because before we got there, the Rugadine had already actually heard rumors that this was going on, and he actually started doing some research. So when he got there, that's how he was able to control the wood golem.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that they learned how to control the wood golem within a short span of time just to pull off a payday?
I think that's what I read. Yeah, when one of the lines is like, "Do you have any idea how like long he had to read old tomes to make this work?" So I mean, like, I would love for them to get out of prison and try. Like, I love the idea, like Chad said, of them being our Team Rocket. I would gladly see them again in 7.0.
Well, they came and helped us. Like, not only did the dude, I think, control like the wood golem at some point, but the Lalafell summon like a wind spirit or wind whatever and a water spirit or whatever too, I think, during the fight with the whale, right?
Depending on how you treated him earlier.
Yeah, if you saved him. And so I thought that was pretty interesting that they got pretty good at whatever they were doing, especially if they learned it in such a quick manner.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see them again someday. Like, I think they kind of set that up. I don't know if they're ever going to come back for it, but the idea that they're just like arrested by the Radiant Host means that there's an explanation for them being gone, but the explanation for them showing back up could be, hey, they just got out of prison. Mm-hmm. And are now puppet masters.
Yeah, and now you can all be puppet masters, right? Maybe that's the new puppet master quest line, is that these guys discovered how to become puppet masters, and they were able to make a quick buck. And they're just trying to make money off of being puppet masters now because it's such a unique skill and training people and trying to get money off of them, right?
They have stopped their life of crime and they have gone legit, and they are now selling mammoth parts. Yeah.
There is a lot of money to be made in building robots, my friend.
Yep.
And custom robot fighting. Okay. Well, I mean, that actually hits a whole bunch of the points I think I had on here as well. I don't think there's anything too outstanding.
Yeah, that hit pretty much everything. Not only did it hit pretty much everything, you managed to stretch a conversation about just a variant dungeon into over an hour, which I mean, I didn't say we couldn't. I didn't like I feel a little like I lost a bet, but we didn't actually make a bet.
Oh,
I'm impressed.
I talked about Island Sanctuary for about an hour and a half too. That was hard. That was
I am impressed. After this one, I'm convinced that you could fill an hour segment with pretty much anything.
I can. Dude, we could. All right, take off your shoe, show it on camera. We got an hour to go. I bet I could fill an hour talking about that shoe. That's what I love to do.
Frosty shoe deep lore dive.
Yeah. But no, this is fun. It's fun to go in and just kind of talk about some of this stuff. And I guess like the reason why some of these segments can get longer, and the people who are watching us, maybe some of you guys that are watching us are like lore experts, is because I'm not, right? I need to go a little bit. I need some of that front load at the pieces of the conversation.
That's the best way to do like a segment kind of show, though. Like if you have other people on, being kind of maybe one rung higher than your audience on the comprehension scale, like having just enough comprehension to know to ask that person.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what it is, right? Is I played a game casually. I forget things like most casual players do. I go through everything. Like, I played a game in a way that I enjoy it. I touch it. I taste everything in some way, but I don't dive deep into it. And so a lot of the questions I think a lot of the community has, and I'm hoping the people who are interested in lore but never really had the time or inspiration to dive into it more will watch some of these episodes as well, so they can get a little bit more education.
That's my new mental schema for what this show is that you know basically what your audience knows, but unlike your audience,
less.
You know
I would say it's been proven many times.
You can call me.
Yeah. I know less than my audience. They make sure I know that all the time. So there's a couple people.
You know the same as the lowest common denominator of the audience.
That is right. I would say that would be at least correct. But all right. Well, then that all being said, we can go ahead and wrap up today. I think this is a nice little jump back on the saddle and talk about lore a little bit. We'll see if we can find another topic that people want to dive into. Again, if you've watched this and you're like, I would love to see this talked about more, especially things that are kind of like out there now that we haven't really dove into too much. This one, again, was recent content. It felt right to talk about. There could be some things that are just, maybe we just haven't touched that could push us forward into more stuff in the next variant or into next expansion or some piece of content they'll find an excuse to talk about. I mean, there has to be a new deep dungeon, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what all the new stuff is. I think they're going to try to shock us in terms of just like the scale of everything. I think it's going to feel like a whole new game. But then if it's all new, like what does it tie into from the past? So I'm kind of really interested to see what's all new and what's not.
Right.
I would love to see just a whole new adventure, but there's got to be something familiar to kind of get the old souls hooked. So I'm going to be interested to see the proportions.
Grahatia eating tacos. I guess the old souls. That's it, man.
That got a very loud cheer. It worked.
It was the loudest. It was literally the loudest cheer. So I know that's what the community wants. And you know what I need to do is get Grahatia on one of these segments too, and just talk to Grahatia for a little bit. At least the voice actor, right?
If you had the voice actor for Grahatia on your show, I guarantee you would need to extend it by at least 2 hours for all of the requests in the chat of things they wanted him to say.
Well, here's the thing. In those shows, it would be trying to advertise whatever their what's that service called?
Cameo or Fiverr, or I don't know which one's the one everyone's on.
There's one that's like you literally commissioned like actors and stuff to
I don't remember the name of that one. Wow.
I forget what it is, but I'm blanking on it, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Cameo. That I think that was it. Yeah. So
it is Cameo.
Yeah,
okay.
Cameo.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It could be like a rapid fire cameo.
If you donate $10, he'll do real quick on it, and I just have to pay him out afterwards. All right. We'll go ahead and wrap up here. Moose, is there anything else that you want to go over before we sign off?
No,
here?
we got everything.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, again, chat, everybody, if you've watched this on Twitch, go to the YouTube after I publish it as well, and then comment on it saying, I want to talk about this. This would be an interesting question to run into. I mean, maybe we'll just have a week where we have just 20, 30 questions from people that are all over the place, and we'll bring Moose on and he'll just rapid fire them.
Anytime.
Okay. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I am going to raid somebody and end the stream, and we'll wrap up here today. So thanks, everybody. Bye. See you later. Say bye. Say bye. You have to say it.
Bye. I have to say it out loud. Bye.
Yeah.